Hey, what's up guys, Zokley, and I'm here playing some Rome 2. It's another big battle, 3 versus 3. I am fielding Pontus, looking nice and regal with this blue and purple coloring. Really like Pontus, kind of historically an interesting position to be in, and of course King Mithridates being such a fascinating character. I am at the moment kind of hustling in the background to get an episode out on Mithridates, talking about how he is the Poison King. I've talked about him previously, his wars with Rome, you know, the 3... wars between Mithridates and Rome, kind of between a whole bunch of different Roman politicians that you're familiar with. And yeah, he would always, Mithridates come back, and then there's the whole story about him imbibing poison to become immune to it, having all kinds of experimentation and concoctions and all kinds of interesting stuff that we'll be covering. But anyways, I've brought his troops here, and it's an interesting composition where you do have some Eastern forces. So for instance, mercenary Scythian horse archers, fair amount of those, Eastern slingers, some Thoreau spears, so you do have some Hellenic influence as well, and then also bring some Celtic warriors. Historically, you would have seen a fair amount of troops coming in from the steppe for help, some native, heavy cav in the Eastern faction, and a decent amount of, swordsmen and other local units, peltas, who were kind of styled after the Greek forces. And I believe at some point Mithridates did invest in kind of mirroring what the Hellenic kingdoms was doing, and did have some pikes, and even had some, imitation legions at a certain point. So I am joined by a couple allies. So the first one is going to be Epirus. So he has some archers in the front, somewhat shoved up. He has mercenary Italian swordsmen coming with him. He has some hoplites just behind that. One of them being a Hellenic Royal Guard unit. Not super keen on like elite hoplites because they don't seem to do that much better. Yeah, they can hold out a little longer, but if you're just keen on holding out with hoplites, I think you're doing things wrong because, it's just kind of delaying the inevitable. So I will just take kind of pretty decent hoplites and just have them do what their job is. No need to invest too much money in a losing battle otherwise. If you're going to if you really want to go for holding power, that's where you go for the pikes. Royal Peltas, a couple of the units, some sprinkled cavalry. So it looks like he's gone mostly skirmisher heavy with a decent infantry body. And then next we have a huge concentration of these boii forces. A lot of kind of cheap Celtic warriors sprinkled on spaghetti formation, sword fallers, axe warriors, heavy horse. So pretty big rush build, almost no skirmishers whatsoever joining him. So these guys are going to be peeling over. Looks like they're marching over to the flank, seeking out, terms on this side. It looks like the enemy force is going to be mirroring him. Always funny to see that. How things would have looked historically. Reminds you of what Alexander was doing at Gaugamela, where he just continues to push the flank and draw the enemy in. So the enemy against him is going to be Chimera, a faction you don't see played too much just because it's not that well known historically, but they do have some pretty solid Chimerian heavy archers backing behind them, javelin and picked peltas, so pretty good against some of these maybe lighter-ish troops, but a decisive push will take these guys out. He also has some steppe lancers, cheap shot cav, and it looks like he's moving over with probably some noble infantry, which have pretty good AP damage, I believe, and can hold out. Then you have Armenia with some Cartly axemen. These guys are heavily armored, have pretty good attack, backed up with elite Persian archers, so pretty solid build. And then a ton of Cappadocian cav, noble horse archers, so a lot of armor on this guy. Really like to see that from an Armenian build. And then finally, Sparta sprinkled in the front. Spartan pikemen, lots of units here just being what you'd expect. And he did bring some Spartan youths up front. I do like to bring these guys. They're pretty fast, mobile, and kind of help tie down the enemy. But not much in terms of range. He does have 2 periodic peltas, and he has a little bit of mobility under him, namely the citizen cav. But when you field that up against the Pontic force here, which has access to steppe tribes, there's no match. Let's go ahead and follow these guys as they move forward, charging out across the open plains, a area they're very much familiar with. So I'm just going to be here to pester Spartan cavalry, something that wasn't very well developed. Spartans aren't known for the cavalry. They did, I believe, were able to field some of them, but never really in such large numbers or had any big reputation for being so powerful. Anyways, he's going to try and force confrontation, chasing after my guys. I'm going to pull out of here. He's trying to get after my slingers, but this is where I pulled up already with some Thoreau spears. Looks like I whiffed a little bit of a volley there, but I do have my other one ready to rebuff. Yeah, Thoreau spears are the bane of cavalry. Pretty quick units, lots of volleys that they can lob at the enemy. So these steppe lancers, you know, reinforcements from Chimera trying to get at me, but just unable to engage. Steppe horse archers just so quick. Already 16 kills on one, 4 on the other, and 18 on the last. So really decimating these numbers. Sparta tried to penetrate a little bit into the center, but I had units deployed and ready. So we're really chewing into these guys. And it looks like the heavy horse are getting ready to take this fight. We're going to see two different barbarians engaging here. One from, you know, the perhaps I guess the northern regions of Europe, and the other one from the eastern tribes. And looks like the eastern steppe lancers have disengaged, although historically you probably would have expected, I don't know, the steppe troops to come out on top. At least that's what I would put my wager. So he does somewhat catch up with my cav. I try and pull out of there, but I'm going to take a fair amount of damage on the withdrawal. But throw spears in close support, and the Parthian shot of my bowmen are really going to help to take these guys out. And with that, that's going to really... Oh, and here comes another volley. Ooh, on both sides, he's being pincushioned. Some of his own peltas coming in. Spartan pikemen are going to try and engage. So it looks like we've riled Sparta up. So a lot of action taking place on our side. But we do remain fluid here with these Scythian horse archers. And we're going to circle around and try and get at the flank of these heroes of Sparta and other units. He's going to try and commit, which I will go ahead and take. It's just Spartan youths, which, you know, could be fairly powerful, but it's not top-of-the-line Spartan troops. Looks like these Gallic warriors in their pajamas are going to teach them a thing or two. And yeah, I should be able to hold this. Meanwhile, you're having a bit of a back and forth in the center. Elite Persian archers are going to be trying to trade with the Epirotes here. It looks like the Epirotes getting the lesser of that engagement. The elite Persian archers just being so good, and it looks like Epirus has you know, had enough of this engagement. He's going to try and feint with the cav charge, but mostly it's been a stalemate here. Lots of spaghetti lines getting ready, but yeah, stalemate here. So it looks like we're waiting for things to happen on this flank, which they very much are. And here I'm going to roll up with some of my shoved up Pontic swordsmen. And again, a thing you'll see me do a lot in these battles is, you know, if you're on the flank and you have the time, no need to engage. A lot of units will have 2 full volleys of precursors, and it's the quickest way to decimate units. So just park yourself there and just unload with missiles. So there you go. Shatter that force quite easily. And I'm killing some of my own guys, so I got to be careful. But yeah, then we're going to continue to move on and slaughter the Spartan youths, which is not something you'd want as Sparta. Obviously, with very low population numbers, you got to be very careful of it. Anyways, Scythian troops continuing to fire into the Spartan units, who do turn around, and with their expert charge resistance, they're going to be able to rebuff this this Boii engagement quite handily. But this is not what you want to see. A horde of Scythians at your back. So yeah, some of these heroes going to be biting the dust. Looks like one of these Spartans, yeah, he was running towards them, and he decides a better course is to flank. Looks like this guy, yeah, not quite sure what's going on. Looks like we have a little bit of a bug here. Looks like his horse ran away, and he forgot. Didn't get the memo there. So we're going to be plowing around, have control of the back lines, and this is where things do not go well for Sparta. They want to be in a big upfront fight and don't do very well in this type of engagement. And the Epirotes have sent me some of their pikes, which is really helpful. Sparta has tried to do the same, but yikes. Faced with some of our peltas, and I did bring a couple peltas specifically because I knew this would be engagements that, you know, would happen. And man, with their AP damage doing so much here, especially with the blood and gore on, oh yikes, makes it look brutal. A very slow and steady grind, and these guys parked right out. Spartans are going to try and turn about to face, but every odd arrow is going to hit, and I can switch over to heavy shot. Meanwhile, what we're doing here is we're forcing the Spartans into a blob. Found a little bit of an opening, and the engagement is going to be on here. The Cartly Axemen holding their own. They have some of their own precursors, and they did win the fight in terms of range, so they were the ones that are able to dictate, forcing these hoplites to get into the fight. And I mean, take a look at these Axemen against the hoplites. Only going to go one way. Like I said, hoplites can hold out, but it's only going to be a matter of time until they're extinguished. And especially with these Axemen, they're going to do really well. So that's why he's going to have to throw in another mercenary Italian swordsman. And I'm going to try and commit some Pontic peltas. It looks like here, little micro lapse almost gets caught by our guys. They have big crush in the center. And it looks like the Chimerians have engaged, but as I said before, the boy force here did have a lot of spaghetti lines that he's able to just pour right on through. Even deploying in column, that's kind of a nifty move. Finding little gaps there. So the Chimerian noble infantry should hold out pretty well against these Celtic warriors. So I think in the front he should be doing okay. But it's around the flanks where there was a lot of investment in that heavy horse composition. He's going to be able to chase away these noble horse archers, surrounding these forces, and yeah, he's going to be able to turn the tide on the center here, especially with the just sheer numbers that poked through. The heavy investment in skirmishers here is just not going to bode well for him. They need to continue to fire to get their money's worth, and this Oathsworn is just going to keep them on their toes. Meanwhile, back on our side, going to be chasing down the remainder of Periodic Pontus with just a couple of my cheap Celtic warriors who have already taken a charge and taken a beating, so I'm going to commit them just for the mopping up operations. Meanwhile, my swords are going to be engaging against the Royal Spartans, and I'm even going to toss in some of these light Scythian troops into the back of the Spartan line. Not doing too much, but bending them about and trying to shock their morale a little bit. Meanwhile, my swordsmen are trying to do something about it. Probably not a fight they'll win up front, but with my numerical advantage, should be able to do something. Meanwhile, I've kind of recommitted a lot of my forces over here, trying to take out these axemen, but they are able to hold out pretty well against these hoplites. Looks like they were 2 units deep with noble spears actually reinforcing them. And over here, yeah, he's got a lot of dudes stacked up against these hoplites. Another thing you do want to be careful of in Total War here is you never really want to stack up 2 units like this. 1 is enough. The extra 1 should be going around the flank, getting all of its missiles off, and then penetrating and assaulting in the back there. So a little bit of a blob that you want to avoid. Looks like the Boei Cav doing a good job of cleaning up, tying all these men down. In the center, things are trading relatively evenly. All you're seeing is the leftover corpses of some spaghetti lines on either side. And the noble horse still alive, actually going to be firing into the back of these sword followers. So it looks like they may be able to turn this. A little bit of microlapse here. He could be catching up to these. But for the most part, I would say Chimeria is going down. It still has a fair amount of troops alive, but they are all skirmishers being chased to death. Meanwhile, in the center, Armenia would probably win this against Epirus. You can see Epirus is pretty low on numbers, but it's going to be the reinforcements from our guys that are going to seal the deal. Royal Cataphract is going to be tied down as well by some of my own guys. And I'm going to help in the infantry fight, hammering these guys right into the pikes. And luckily there's no friendly fire like in Arena against the pikes, otherwise I probably would have lost half my force there. Yeah, just seeing him off. Actually, it looks like these are noble spearmen, so I got to pull out of that fight. Can't take too much damage there. Peltas committed as well, and yeah, it looks like that was just enough to force them off the battlefield. And then I come in with my general, pop second wind just to make sure he's nice and fresh and can continue to rake in the kills. Already at 111, expect him to get up to probably 200 by the end of the fight if he continues to do mopping up. Speaking of that, the Spartans still holding out somehow against my units. They are routing some of my noble blood cav and other units, so rather formidable. But their backs are very much against the walls here. This is another one of these last stands. But my Celtic tribesmen, looking for the glory of taking out some of these Spartan warriors, are going to pour themselves into this fight as well. Ooh, dehorsed. They're having real trouble. But I believe these are going to be your Royal Spartans and Heroes of Sparta. Let's take a look. Spartan Hoplites, and Royal Spartans. Okay. Pretty strong forces, but pretty heavy numbers on my side. What I'm going to do is disengage one of my extra units, avoid that blob, and just go ahead and free up my units on this side, target these Spartan hoplites in the rear, and just make sure we have an encirclement on all of them. So the deal is sealed, I would say, there. And then the encircling maneuvers by slingers, cavalry, peltas is going to finish wrapping up this operation. So pretty well played from my allies, a good coordination. You saw some cavalry that was sent over to my side, helping out, helping to move into the back. So the allies on all sides were kind of doing a good job to help out, but I believe on my side, they were a little bit better. And the coordination amongst our enemy wasn't great. They seemed to all be fighting kind of mano-y-mano battles, and as a result, we were able to to just combine forces where necessary and really rout them. And I think the major problem that they had was trying to contest the flank here when we had so much mobile range in terms of the Scythian horse archers. They should have moved back. Sparta had, like we saw, some cavalry, but no range. And against a matchup like my guys would have been torn to shreds inevitably. So he should have probably folded back and sought help. I don't want to, say they should have camped, but their composition was kind of leaning towards that type of mentality, and I think they would have fared a little bit better. So yeah, that's it. Let's end the replay and look at some of the kills. So yeah, there you go. I said my general will get about 200 kills. Looks like he did just that. Noble Bloodcav doing pretty well. Mercenary Scythian Archers doing awesome. Skirmishers doing well. Celtic Warriors actually 240 and 189. So once they cracked those Spartan use and chased them down, they definitely cut off some heads and gained some trophies in that fight. Perhaps brought back some Lambda shields. Have some Pontic swordsmen doing well, and yeah, Thoreau Spears doing awesome in the supporting role with their javelins, not only against cav but also against infantry. So a fair amount of kills on my side, 2,500. If we look at Epirus, Epirus was not trading so well. Like I said, the hoplites against the Armenian Kartli axemen. Yeah, the axemen were trading very beneficially. The elite Persian archers trading really beneficially against these archers. So overall, his infantry wasn't doing too well. Besides that, he had maybe a couple pikes and some cav. So in a 1v1, I think this player, Armenia, would have won. But like I said, it was a 3v3 where it really came down to the sport. Meanwhile, Boii here, really good on the assault. Heavy horse getting really good kills on the back lines with Chimeria. Chimeria getting a fair amount of kills as well. So it looks like the enemy put out a pretty good fight, getting close to the number of kills as Boii and also Epirus. But yeah, this rush build did in Chimera, so just the matchups weren't quite there for our opponents, so I guess that was lucky on our part, the way the game matched us. And yeah, this big investment in Steppe Lancers, you got to be careful. They have a really good, solid, strong charge that would be great for hammering away at, front lines of Celtic Warriors, but anything past that, anything where you try and sustain, they're just going to get mopped up by these heavy horse pretty easily. So yeah, these are risky units. Probably would have had better to invest in. No, he had a good amount of spears, so it's a pretty decent build. Just needed maybe a couple more of these held in reserve to blunt some of the charges coming after his heavy archers, because you could see while they were alive, got a fair amount of kills. He just could have used more of that. And even Sparta, who I would say didn't get the best of engagements, got a fair amount of kills on these the Spartans, etc. So that's it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed the return to Rome 2 battles. I know it's something that's been requested, and I will try and get more of these to you in the future. So yeah, that's it. Peace out.